and welcome to another bright morning on Enterprise Television. Yes, it's still Enterprise Friday. I am Kende Bodron.
And I am Henry Igwebike.
All right, we are delighted to start this day with you. As always, we begin with a quick look at today's newspaper headlines before diving into the major conversation of the day. And trust me, you don't want to miss a moment with us. You can join the conversation by liking, following us on all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV7, and don't forget to share. So joining us this morning is Barrister His Greatness Agadaigo. He's a distinguished lawyer who will be sharing expert insight on the issues before us. You're welcome, sir.
Good morning, Barrister.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, Ma, and Merry Christmas.
Same to
Yes,
you.
compliments of the season,
Yeah.
sir. We truly do appreciate you now and always.
Always, yeah.
So let's kickstart today with the Guardian newspaper. Okay. We have very interesting stories. The newspaper headlines is filled up with interesting stories, actually. So we have the big story: when pains of reform, old scars hound a new tax era. The promises.
Okay, on the top strip of the Guardian newspaper, we have Ahmed defends finances, welcomes probe of children's education funding.
And also we have a fresh nationwide defection till to 2027 balance as APC tightens grip.
Okay, we also have Senate confirms 64 ambassadorial nominees.
Yes, Bankin Ladi attack that is in Plateau State, Nigeria. Death toll rises to 14.
Okay, we also have PDP caretaker committee dissolves 14 state ESCOs, fixes January for congresses.
Okay, so Barrister, let's just get to the talking point here. Yeah. We have so many interesting stories, but let's maybe start with this is Friday. Let's start with a bit of gossip here for a bit. Yes, 6 PDP governors. Okay, not 6 FC. Where did you see the story on the confirmation?
Okay, PDP caretaker committee dissolves 16 state ESCOs. Fixes January for congresses. Is that what you're trying to?
No, I was looking.
Senate
confirms 64 ambassadors.
Yeah.
Yes,
nominees.
Yes, Barrister. Let's start with that one. It looks like a gossip, but it's an interesting story.
It is,
because at a time like this in Nigeria, where we are talking about real patriotism, genuine patriotism, not loyalty, what we have, unfortunately, are pockets of loyal people who masquerade themselves as patriotic people, and because our president knows how to play politics of loyalty, we have ambassadors that should not be ambassadors according to lots of pundits. What's your take, Barrister?
I think, as I'm sure we discussed this issue week before last. We discussed this issue. Nigeria, we do not value our institutions. That's the basic underlining factor. We don't have value for anything. Not that this one is not just a plain politics. This one is far above and beyond that. We don't have value. We don't have value for our legislature. We don't have value for our judiciary. We don't have value for our executive. And so we keep demeaning processes and procedures that are supposed to ensure values, to ensure dignity, to ensure appreciation of what those institutions stand for. We devalue them, we throw them aside, we do away with them. Any person can do anything and get away with. See, the real reason, if you are the president of America and you are nominated as an ambassador to the United Nations or to any country, the reason why you must still mandatorily face screening by the Senate is not because they don't know your pedigree or they do not appreciate your past services to the country. It's because of the value they place in the position for which you are nominated, so that they can even hold you to your oath of office. They can hold you, they can have insight to your vision in that appointment that you have been nominated for, and they can hold you to certain terms of reference that you will fulfill when you get into that office. So that shows clearly that the Americans, they value every position of authority. They value it. So they will screen you no matter who you are. Delete at times they screen you for 2-3 days. Just advisors to government are screened for 2-3 days because they will even go and get other documents which they will use to confront you further. You can imagine even a Supreme Court judge, I can't even really remember his name now. He promised the screening panel of the U.S. Senate, Justice Canon, the name I can't get it really. That still he will not overturn a precedent of Roe, which makes it gives women privilege to either abort a pregnancy in their womb or not, which has now become like it, which was a constitutional right. He assured them. And so when recently, I think last year also, this precedent, Roe versus, was overturned, I think they will summon him to make explanation. But when you were in the Senate, when we screened you, said you will not do anything to overturn this judicial precedent, but you have overturned it. So they screened him seriously, not because they do not value him, but because they value the position of being, the office of being a justice of the Supreme Court of America. So if we truly value the office of being a minister in the Federal Republic of Nigeria, if indeed we really value the position of being an ambassador of Nigeria to any country of the world, we must not do bow and go. It means that we do not value those positions. We don't value them. Because you can imagine that you are the owner of Dangote refinery, which you have invested almost 15 years on that project, and you have also invested over $20 billion. Most of this money were not your own. You had to put a stake, 30% stake of your total equity, total holding as a collateral to get that loan. Then you want to employ the chief executive officer of Dangote, even if he was highly recommended, even if his pedigree, you will not tell him to come before the interview panel and bow and go for that kind of high stake project, which can put you into penury, which can put you into eternal liability. You tell him, come and bow and go. You cannot do that because you value that project. So this bow and go culture is because our representatives in the Senate, they do not value, especially the presiding officer of the Senate, who is Godswill Akpabio. It doesn't value. If you value it, it will be a rigorous checkup. Rigorous, not just mere casual question and answers. Rigorous screening, rigorous interview, rigorous interrogation, because we want to ensure that the right peg is fixed, is duly fixed in the right hole. So that is what you must do. So it shows that, number one, our representatives in the Senate, number one, they do not even know why they are there. With due respect to all of them in this entirety, that's number one. Number two, they do not appreciate even the reasons why processes and procedures have been put in place. There's a reason why you need to thoroughly screen nominated candidates before you confirm them for appointment. So their action shows that they do not appreciate the rationale, the ratio decidendi, the reason behind those processes and procedures. Sorry to say, it's most unfortunate, but they do not appreciate the reason, the rationale behind the establishment of those time-tested procedures, which endure not only in Nigeria, that is still an infant democracy, but which endure and is even stronger in older and ancient democracies like America, that is over 230 years old. And thirdly, it shows that they do not have any value for these offices that the oversight over. They do not have any value. They take them for granted. They take them lightly. And that is why we are where we are. And it is so unfortunate. Even after all we have suffered in recent time, after these years, if this kind of culture can still endure, can still be sustained, can still be even, this culture is being improved upon daily with new innovations of bow and go, then it is more fortunate. And you can ask, you and I can ask ourselves, where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? That, and two, what output do we really expect from these ambassadorial nominees who were lightly interviewed, who were given a free pass? What should we expect from them? Should we expect good results? Should we expect poor performance? Or should we expect outright failure from the word go? The question is for you and I to answer.
Okay, thank you. You've really said a lot, and I feel a time will tell. For the question you just asked, time will tell. Just hope we see results. So let's just look at the big story on the Guardian newspaper. So we have when pains of reform, old scars heard, and new tax era promises. So we already know the tax reform. We know we're going to be starting. It's going to be taking place the 1st of January 2026. So Barrister, I really want to ask you if does the new tax regime comply with constitutional tax powers? Did you get the question?
You said, does the new tax regime?
Yes, does the new tax regime comply with constitutional tax powers?
Really, the Constitution does not spell everything ABC in outright details.
Okay.
It doesn't. Yes, it doesn't. But clearly, from a general overview, the Constitution gives the executive the powers to tax various individuals, citizens, and company, various tax. And usually these tax regimes are provided for in the exclusive legislative list, which gives exclusive legislative powers to the federal government to carry out taxation on certain revenue, and also in the concurrent legislative list, which gives both the federal and state governments the power to carry out certain taxes, to be able to make laws to carry out certain taxes from institutions, companies, and individuals. You know that company, by company I mean limited liability companies and public liability companies, their profit is taxed by federal government, while employees of companies, especially employees of ventures and other going concerns, they pay taxes to the state, which is income tax, under income tax. So yes, it does give certain powers. It gives power.
Are you there, Barrister? Okay, I think we're having a bit of a communication issue there. I hope Barrister would return back, and because he was speaking to the issue you asked him, if
I was asking him, does the new tax regime comply with constitutional powers?
Exactly. Of course, there are lots of changes, and we learned that the execution of the tax regime had been, put forward a bit. It's no longer, hopefully, would start on the 1st of January 2026. The lots stuff that needs to be done. Barrister, are you back with us?
Yes, I've been here.
Okay, beautiful. So we had a little bit of a glitch there. We couldn't hear you, but you can continue your thoughts.
And so, the point I was making is so the federal state exclusive list is strictly for federal to carry out taxation, especially on oil exploration. Oil exploration, that one is strictly on federal, but they pay. Of course, they will pay taxes from it based on the 13% derivation. After the federal government collects the whole tax on oil exploration activities through the through the Act of the National Assembly, 30% derivation, they are mandated to pay 13% of that proceeds to the states where such oil proceeds have been derived. Of course, so that is how the Constitution streamlines who gets what and how. I'm sure you know that even this value-added tax that makes there's so much of a big deal over. Yes, the federal government collects it, but pays over 90% of that tax to the states. They collect it basically on behalf of the states. And also we have residual taxation as well. But one thing that is instructive is that even though the Constitution makes certain provision for local governments to be able to collect tax, they cannot collect any tax except after the State House of Assembly of that state has made a law for the local government to collect tax. So local governments are actually notwithstanding the just delivered judgment of the Supreme Court last year, local government constitutionally are actually an appendage of the state government constitutionally, because they cannot viably carry out any function. They do not have any financial autonomy. And I stand to be corrected. Outside that prescribed and prescribed one, and that which has been put in place by the State House of Assembly. And it is clearly stated that a local, the Constitution even gives local government tenement rate. Tenement rate means if you have a building, for example, now a personal building, you are supposed to be paying certain amount of taxation to the local government where that building is situated. But local government cannot collect tenement rate except the State House of Assembly makes a law directing how much they should collect for tenement rate, how the assessment must be done on that property or on the various kinds of property. Until that is done, any local government collecting tenement rates is collecting tenement rate unlawfully. And I stand to be corrected because that is the position of the law. So what many state governments many at times do is that the tax provisions for local government, they end up through the State House of Assembly shelving it to agencies of the state government, and the local government cannot do anything about it, because it is until the State House of Assembly, and I'm saying it repeatedly, makes provision for local government autonomy. Any claim to local government autonomy is fallacious, is presumptuous, and is non-existent. And that is based on the Constitution, Section 7, based on the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Until that aspect is amended, local governments in the federal Republic of Nigeria, the 774 local governments will continue to remain financial appendages to the states to which they belong. So coming back home in clearness, yes, the Constitution has given a clear revenue sharing formula among the federal and state government on how revenues, because by revenues I mean taxation, should be collected from various individuals, corporate associations, corporate bodies, and other institutions, how it can be gotten, how it can be derived. So it is when the state or the federal government acts outside the provisions of the Constitution, that is when we can say that they have acted unconstitutionally. I'm referring to the question just asked me now. But if they carry out those, if they administer those taxation in line with provisions of the Constitution, then we cannot say they have in any way acted unconstitutionally. That is my
Thank you
submission.
so very much, Barrister. Of course, we have to talk about it more, especially with the autonomy of the local government in a bit. That is in our main conversation when we return. No autonomy without cash to local government areas. Tinubu tells governors to free local government funds. This is exactly what Barrister was talking about. So let's see if we can, digest that more. Barrister will still be here to take us on that. Please don't go anywhere.
Stay with us.
Thank you so very much for joining us, and this is still Enterprise Friday, reaching you from Enterprise Television. Let's head straight to our conversation for today. President Bola Tinubu has directed the 36 state governors to comply fully with the Supreme Court judgment on local government autonomy by handing over statutory allocations directly to the councils. Speaking at the 14th APC National Caucus meeting in Abuja, Tinubu stressed that there can be no true local government autonomy without a funded mandate, insisting that councils' fund must no longer be withheld.
Very true. He also urged governors and party leaders to show flexibility, tolerance, and active leadership down to the grassroots, including rural communities. The president also disclosed that he had assured the United States and the European Union of Nigeria's commitment to establishing state police as part of efforts to tackle insecurity, expressing confidence that the APC would support the necessary reforms.
So let's get talking. We still have His Greatness Agadaigo Esquire, who joins us to do some justice on everything we have to talk about today. Thank you so very much, Barrister, for hanging on.
Thank you for having me again and again.
Thank
I'm
you.
extremely
Thank
grateful.
you. So, Barrister, this is more like a transition from what you were talking about and asking us if we can correct you on whether or not the local government councils we have in Nigeria are directly financially appendaged to the state government. But President Bola Tinubu is saying that every single kobo should be handed over to local government area councils. So has this corrected your assumption in one way or another that the local government areas in Nigeria can stay independent, totally independent from state governments if President Bola Tinubu insists on that is what he wants?
Well, it does not in any way. I think I would prefer to the Supreme Court's decision for it to be, one thing is to make a pronouncement, and another thing is the practicality in implementing that pronouncement. And if we are going to really, in real terms, implement the Supreme Court judgments to make local governments autonomous, then what we must do, and I'm advising Tinubu's government, if it's really serious about full enforcement of the Supreme Court judgment, is to amend the local government, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended. Number one, amend it and remove that clause where you say local government funds from the federation should be paid into a state stroke local government joint account, which is always operated by the state government. So you have to amend that section and say local government funds should be paid into the various accounts that stand for the various 774 local governments of Nigeria. You have to amend that. That's number one. Then again, secondly, many of the local government between 1999 and 2007, since democracy came in and there was increase in salaries, so civil service appeared to be just like many of the states government overemployed service, many of the local government and too many people into the. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, Barrister.
Okay, so they employed so many people, so because it became a Gulf oil money wind, Gulf oil money and free flow money. So they are overemployed, and the consequence of that overemployment is that when a local government receives its allocation, its federal allocation, when you remove payment of salary, they had nothing remain. In fact, in some cases, allocation, meaning that after payment of salary, there's nothing left for the local government. While in other cases, if after paying salaries, there's nothing left, there's still outstanding salaries. The local government monthly allocation could not cover payment for recurrent expenditure, meaning it could not cover the payment of salaries of employees. And many of these state governments have to come to the rescue of the local government for political correctness to add funds to the local government allocation to be able to cover payment of. So now, what is the way forward? Almost all the local government have no way independently to generate internal revenue for themselves, because like I told you earlier, that if I go by Delta State, the Constitution itself, it says that no local government will tax anybody without a law made by the State House of Assembly to that effect. Infudicted to the local government, the Constitution also says that the local government cannot derive taxation levies, carry out these functions without the State House of Assembly making a law in respect of that function on behalf of the local government. So that part of the Constitution needs amendment if you want true financial autonomy for the local government, that the local government now, for a local government to be able to carry out taxation functions in the items provided for it in the constitution, then the legislative arm, not the State House of Assembly, the legislative arm of the local government must make a bylaw to empower that local government to carry out that tax levy or charges and perform that function in respect of these items provided for the local government in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So with that one now, you have now made local governments who for now are just mere appendages of the state government, you have now made them to be financially viable, meaning that apart from the monthly federal allocation, they can all now generate internal revenue through those items that have been donated to them by the Constitution. So with that one, now they will now have extra money to be able to mitigate their liabilities and responsibilities for recurrent expenditure, which is payment of salaries, and have some other money to be able to carry out capital project.
Okay.
Setting all things being. So until this mere declaration by the president to governors who now, I think they are 28 or 29 in or more, because they are growing by the day.
Definitely.
Cannot make the local governments viable. It cannot make them viable. Many of them are still living by the grace, by the donation, extra donation by the state government. So this is relevant. Now, I need to say this because you cannot say one, you cannot be speaking from two sides of your mouth.
Yeah.
Now, this president does not want state governments to be withholding local government funding, but the president has been withholding the local government funding for Osun State, even after the Court of Appeal made it clear that it is those PDP chairmen, that they are the authentic chairmen. It is clear the federal government on its own, through its Attorney General, has been withholding the funding of Osun State. In Edo State, immediately power went to APC. The local government of PDP extraction were being threatened daily, and even threatened by talks from resuming in their office. The Attorney General only spoke once. Immediately the governor retorted back to him. He never ordered the IG to ensure protection of those PDP local government chairmen in Edo State, to ensure that they carry out their duties. We saw complete silence, and which can be likened to consent. That silence was consent. They were being harassed. They were being impeached. The State House of Assembly suspended them. Even after the Supreme Court judgment, we did not see any statement from the presidency ensuring the autonomy of local government, no matter party affiliation. We saw silence. It shows that this statement amounts to double standards.
Okay.
When it is good for it stands for financial autonomy, but when it appears that it will not favor them, then you turn your back, you close your eyes, you shut your eyes and look away. So one of the greatest legacies of the APC government is the doctrine of double standard, without any form of pretense. So this local government desire for local government autonomy, what we have seen so far from him, God gave fast decision when the president took this matter to court, but when the government took the matter to court, we did not see that the same speed being applied We didn't say see the same speed. So it's all marks of double standards.
All right,
Not
Barrister.
any
Double standard.
true altruistic. It's not based saying this, and I stand to be quoted. I want to be quoted that what I'm saying is that the quest for local government autonomy is not based on any sincere altruistic motivation, but it is garnished by double standard in and out. Where we look, it is all double standard.
Okay, it is all double standard. Well, that was in fact, that was a well detailed analysis coming from you. So is the president empowered to enforce compliance without a new law?
These are the president has seen it himself that without the cooperation of the state government,
okay,
without the cooperation of the state government, the Supreme pronouncement will amount to laws in the book. You know, we refer to some laws as laws in the book.
Yeah.
They are just in the book, but they are not enforceable, they are not applicable, they are like dead laws.
Okay.
That's how it is. That's why the president, since his party now controls the overwhelming majority of governors of the state, is now using his moral suasion to like persuade them and even persuade them and maybe compel them to comply to it. But like I said, it is beyond moral suasion. Certain key fundamental amendments must be done in our constitution to make the Supreme Court pronouncement on the financial independence, financial autonomy of the local government to be workable, to be practicable, and to be enforceable.
All right.
So that is done. Too many hurdles on the way, constitutional hurdles, by the way, that will stand against the realization of the pronouncement of the Supreme Court of Nigeria.
All right, Barrister, for the want of time, let's maybe talk about the state police thing, which was part of the discussion President Bola Tinubu had with his people. He said that the need for state police might be somewhere close. And lots of people have agreed that he wasn't doing this allegedly because he really wanted to make that as part of what he wanted, but because he wanted to satisfy the United States and the European Union that he was doing something with regards to security. As much as we agree that state police is good, but let's look at the intent of President Bola Tinubu. If really state policing was part of his deal, why didn't he do it all the while? Why now come and do it now when he knows that the pressure from the United States is much? So let's look at the intent of that promise.
Well, it is clear now. Even in our NBA conference in Lagos, I think the present governor of Ondo State came. We had a topic, state police. Femi Falana was there. He spoke on it. The present governor of Ondo State, Ayedi Tiwa, was there, and he came with his commandant and told us the successes of the Amotekun Corps, what they have recorded, and advocated, he's of APC and advocated for state that if we must get our internal security right, state police is the way to go. So everything has been in the public domain. I'm sure, I think it was Rufai that headed this restructuring project for APC on how to restructure Nigeria. And I think one of the recommendations they made was about also state police. That was many years ago. So state police, it is clear that it is the way to go. So maybe he was enjoying the soul, because for now, in practical terms, the Inspector General of Police only carries out the orders of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I can't even remember whether we have the Minister of Police Affairs. But if we do, it is clear that even the Inspector General, the Minister of Police Affairs, does not authorize or direct the Inspector General of Police on how to go about his duties, his functions. Maybe he's just there for payment of salary and management of welfare. And of course, you know, the Inspector General of Police does not take any directive from the Police Service Commission. Of course, that one is clear. Yeah, he doesn't take directive from the Minister of Interior. It doesn't. It's only this. So he maybe in enjoying that sole prerogative to direct the Inspector General of Police on how to carry out his function or what to do and not to do, he felt that there's complacency. You know, power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. But then you must be somebody, a true leader must, number one, be a visionary, must be a statesman. You don't only think about the benefits of the perks of office. You think about 20 years, 50 years, 100 years time. You think about society building, nation growth and development. That's what must occupy you, because you know, even if you stay in the office for 8 years, the office will still come to an end. Just like you can imagine, Obasanjo was part of our consciousness just a little while ago. That before we think or say anything, we think of Obasanjo. But for goodness sake, Obasanjo has left presidency. This year now will make it 18 years or thereabout. Obasanjo left that throne. And it's like it's a joke, but that's the reality. 18 years, Obasanjo used to occupy our daily lives, conversation, psychology, every now and then, has left the presidency of Nigeria since 2007, plus 18 years, makes it 2025, meaning he has left there for 18 years. That is how transient power is. But thankfully, the legacies of Obasanjo left still speaks volume, even across Africa and even through the global space. So that's what must be your thinking, that must be your consideration, that one must be your push, your drive, your stimulation to act in certain ways. And well, the bosses of Asiwaju, Ahmed, Tinubu, Otto, and Nigerians, but since he refused to listen to Nigerians, the vacuum, nature abhors vacuum. President Trump has stepped into the fray, and he has no choice but to listen to. I don't think he listened to even European Union. Who he listened, nor did he listen to Americans. Who he has listened to now is only one man, Donald Trump. That's the person he has listened to, and he has listened to him thankfully to do the right thing. So, it is clear that the motivation is not altruistic. It's compelled. It's compelled. Okay. Because you know how Donald Trump does. Donald Trump himself does not work in alliance with the rule of law. Donald Trump setting things very difficult for the Nigerian government. And I'm sure they know that, as well as you and I. So they are compelled to comply. They are compelled to comply. So the next question, having answered the first one, is that the state police, the compliance, despite extraordinary pressure from Donald Trump, is it fit for purpose? Is it appropriate? Will it help our security architecture? Yes, it will, to a large extent. It means that we will now have multiple layers of security architecture to address our ever multiplied and multifaceted security challenges. So because in dealing with security, even in America, they have multi-layered security campaigns and agencies. They have in a place, they have the local police. What's the name? They call this their local government, sheriff. Before you get to state police like Los Angeles Police Department, New York Police Department, before you get to the federal level, FBI, and of course there's still the CIA that gathers intelligence for them, both in America and around the world. But most importantly, sir and man, is that we must be able to spare out the different functions of state police and because even though we are going to get state police, even if we get state police, the federal police will still be there. So we must be able to carefully and skillfully spell out their operations, their modus operandi, where state police function starts and where it stops, where the federal police function starts and stop, so that there will not be clashes here and there. There will not be clashing in state rules, clashing in federal rules, clashing in issues of state jurisdiction, clashing in issues of federal jurisdiction. Maybe since both of them now bear arms, we'll hear that there is open spree firing.
Are you still there, Barrister? All right. I think I just hope this is we would resume back, but let's see how that goes. Barrister was speaking to the issue of state policing and reassuring us that it would work. But how would it work when we still have a federal police and hopefully a state police, and both police force would be bearing arms, right?
Yeah.
So already we have soldier and police engaging in physical, in fight.
Yeah.
All right. So imagine we now have a state police, we have federal police, we now have the army. And the three of them now want to fight themselves, which we usually see in our roads, maybe for one issue or another. But we just,
orientation.
Okay.
We have to call them together, orientate them, and dispatch them to their various responsibilities or role. So I feel that if it's well organized, they might not really have clashes. Yes, among
all right. I just hope that works, and we just have to leave it at this point. Thank you so very much, Barrister. We had one